Benjamin Impossible. Chapter 12. Ransom Note. The next morning, they received their first message about baby Charlie. The family was sitting around the breakfast table brainstorming their next move when Benjamin's wristwatch beeped. "Hey!" Benjamin said with excitement. "It's an email message from Charlie's wrist communicator." Everyone crowded around to read the message. Professor Impossible. I have your child in my evil clutches. If you want to see him again, you will fly your airship to these coordinates: 24.629 latitude, minus 82.873 longitude. Bring your hyperhelium recipe and a healthy appetite. Formal attire requested. Moo ha ha. Dr. Glockenspiel, Ph.D., CPP. P.S. I am monitoring your phone and radio transmissions. Do not contact anyone or there will be consequences. Bad consequences, not good ones. PPS, bring cookies and diapers. Your child is disgusting. Dr. Glockenspiel has our baby, Mama Impossible cried out. Yes, Papa replied, and now we know why he kidnapped him. Glockenspiel wants my hyperhelium formula and wants to trade Charlie to get it. Captain Lemontime read the message several times, looking for clues. The evil doctor wrote moo ha ha in this letter. Is there some significance to that, or is he just goofy? Benjamin shrugged. He's probably just wacky. You'll also notice he wrote the word doctor and PhD in his email signature. Seems redundant, don't you think? And what does the CPP stand for? I've never even heard of that degree before. Captain Lemontime shrugged. It probably stands for chicken pot pie. He's a crazy scientist, after all. Benjamin laughed. Not bad, Captain. You're funnier than you look. Mama Impossible wrung her hands. You don't think this Glockenspiel is crazy enough to hurt little baby Charlie, do you? Benjamin shook his head. Don't worry, Mom. If Dr. Glockenspiel wants the hyperhelium formula, he won't dare touch Charlie. I'm sure my little brother is perfectly safe. The real question is, what do we do now? I don't think we have much choice, Mama said. We have to follow these instructions. We can't risk something happening to the baby. Maybe we should see where those map coordinates lead us. Perhaps that will help us plan our next move, Benjamin suggested. An excellent idea, Papa Impossible said as he walked over to the ship's navigation computer and punched in the GPS address. These coordinates intersect at a small island called Tortuga Isle. Ring a bell, anyone? The Air Force captain pursed his lips. Isn't that an island near the Florida Keys? It's got an old Civil War fort on it. An old fort? Asked Mama Impossible. That seems like a weird place to send us. Benjamin brought out a laptop and ran an internet search. It looks like Tortuga Island was discovered by Ponce de Leon in 1513. Tortuga is Spanish for turtle. Ponce de Leon named the island Tortuga because he caught a ton of sea turtles when he visited the place. What about the fort? Mama Impossible asked. Benjamin read from the screen. They built Fort Jefferson in the 1800s on Tortuga Island as a strategic deep-water port of call. The fort was never completed and became a popular tourist destination for dayboaters out of Key West. The island is closed to public visitation. Apparently, the fort is undergoing restoration. Restoration? Papa Impossible asked. Do Civil War forts need to be restored? I thought they were made out of bricks. Yes, Benjamin answered. Apparently, the stonework is beginning to crack from constant salt exposure, and recent tropical storms have undermined the foundation under the southern battlements. These are under repair, and the public isn't allowed access until the renovation is complete. Mama Impossible tapped the screen on Benjamin's computer. Can you see who is doing the renovation work? Is it a government agency or the National Park Service? Benjamin typed quickly, searching. He couldn't program a computer as well as his brother Charlie, but he could still surf the internet faster than any adult alive. He quickly had an answer. Good thinking, Mom. The renovation job was put up for auction and outsourced to the lowest bidder. They awarded the contract to a construction agency called Glockenspiel Restoration. Mama Impossible's eyes widened. Wow! Glockenspiel sounds an awful lot like Glockenspiel. Could this Civil War fort be Dr. Glockenspiel's main base of operations? Papa Impossible wondered aloud. It seems crazy putting your evil lair on a well-known island. Captain Lemontime pulled out his phone. Sometimes the best hiding place is right out in the open. If Glockenspiel has his submarine parked near that island, we may be able to spot it from the air. There's a naval air station located in Key West. I can call them and request a flyby inspection of Fort Jefferson right now." Benjamin held up his hand. "Not so fast, Captain. The email we received from Dr. Glockenspiel says that we aren't to contact anyone for help." Mama Impossible nodded. "That's right. His message says that he's monitoring our phone and radio communications. If this Tortuga Island is truly Dr. Glockenspiel's hideout, a military aircraft flying overhead is going to tip him off that we've called for help. If he flees in that submarine, we'll never find Charlie." The captain looked at his phone. "I'm sure he was just bluffing. Surely Glockenspiel can't monitor our phone calls, can he?" Benjamin shrugged. "I'm not sure, Captain. The evil doctor is certainly good at computer programming. He was able to construct the artificial intelligence controlling his robotic minions after all. He may be capable of monitoring cell phone and satellite phone systems as well. If Charlie were here, we would know for sure." Papa Impossible nodded. "It's settled then. Nobody uses a phone or attempts to contact anyone until we reach our destination." Captain Lemontime looked at his phone, unconvinced. Papa Impossible glared at the captain. "Is that clear, Captain Lemontime? No phone calls allowed. I must remind you that while you are on my ship, I am considered the commanding officer by maritime law." Benjamin grinned, spinning his gas blaster on his finger dramatically. "That means I get to shoot you with more skunk juice if Papa orders me to." The Air Force captain turned his phone off and tossed it onto the table with a sigh. "Fine, I won't call anyone. What's your plan and how can I help?" Papa smiled. "Good man. We're glad to have you on Team Impossible. The first course of action is to fly to Tortuga Island." Mama looked at the navigation map. "How long will that take?" Papa ran some calculations in his head. "It will take 5 days to fly around the southern tip of Florida to reach our destination." 5 days? Captain Lemontime blurted out in surprise. "How can it take so long? Can't you just fly straight there?" Papa Impossible shook his head. "I could fly us straight to Tortuga in less time if we flew directly over land. However, Florida is a heavily populated state with many airports and radar way stations. Any flight path over land would sail the Red Zeppelin into restricted airspace." Papa Impossible pointed at the radio equipment next to the ship's steering wheel. "If I fly near an airport, I'll have to radio air traffic control and give them our identification and flight itinerary. Glockenspiel said that no radio communications were allowed." Papa Impossible stood up and pointed to the ocean before them. "The only way to follow Dr. Glockenspiel's directions is to stay over the ocean, well outside of any restricted airspace and out of radio contact with other aircraft flying along the coast. Unfortunately, that will make our trip take a lot longer." "The good news," Benjamin said with enthusiasm, "is that this gives us time to prepare a surprise for the evil doctor. I'm tired of playing defense against his robot attackers. I say we go on the offensive and bring the battle to him." You've reached the end of Chapter 12. Please leave a like for this video, then continue to Chapter 13, The Impossible Transformation.